welcome to Package of Sal.
I'm Ethan.
I'm Ben.
Hey, do you guys remember that episode we did where we talked about how Iron Man was actually a secret traitor, and then he tries to destroy the Avengers, and then continuity is reset, and they never resolved that plot? Well, let's do it again with Superior Iron Man.
Oh.
Why is this so fresh? Oh wait, we just did it!
Yeah, but this is very different from that story where Tony Stark is a piece of shit that betrays everything that he believes in and everyone he loves.
I don't trust you at all.
Well, that's a good impulse to have. This is written by Tom Taylor with art primarily by Yildiray Cinar. This comes right off the heels of Axis, or what people keep referring to as Avengers and X-Men Axis. And I'm like, I'll be damned if I call it that every time.
No, it's called Sixes.
It's called Sixes because that's what the logo looks like. You will never change my mind about that. Agreed. But in Axis, boo. Anyway, the
Axis,
heroes...
This is like 9 years ago, right?
It's very old.
Yeah.
I wish we could put that quote on a book. Axis. It
just sounds. Axis saw the villains become heroes and the heroes become villains fart.
Yeah.
So at the end of Axis, obviously, everybody goes back to where they were.
Right.
And when the villains were good guys, they also like filmed a confessional tape where they pretended to be the bad guys and like take the blame for all the bad things the heroes did. You know, just so the public opinion wouldn't turn against the heroes.
Because they were so good.
They were so good. They were better than the heroes are. Because obviously, like less than a year later, the heroes themselves would form a committee that destroyed reality.
Shouldn't the heroes then make a video to say, no, that was actually us, it was our responsibility?
They don't. They're just like, it would be too complicated. We're not gonna
yeah, like we actually did that, but we were converted into evil versions of ourselves, so it's also not our fault.
Right, but also it would erode the public trust in us if we could be corrupted.
Right.
Carnage is more of a hero than Spider-Man in that story. At the end, Tony Stark, who of course was inverted and turned into an asshole, was like, I'm also Tony Stark though. So he created like a bubble and made sure a few characters didn't get inverted. And he's one of them. And then they went, ooh, we love the idea of the face of our entire multimedia company being an irredeemable piece of shit. Let's make an entire miniseries about it. And so they did.
So the origin of this is that Tony Stark didn't revert back?
Yes.
And how many other people didn't revert?
Yeah.
2.
Oh.
Sabretooth and Havoc, I believe.
So Sabretooth is good?
Was.
Wait a minute. So evil Tony Stark makes a bubble to preserve Sabretooth as a good guy and Havoc as a bad guy.
Yes.
And himself as bad
And
guy.
himself as, of course.
That's so random.
Well, he was really protecting himself, but the bubble was big enough for 2 other guys.
They
were
happened
just
to be nearby.
in the area. They were editorially nearby, and so they were able to be preserved as they were.
Okay. Sweet.
Yeah, it was very similar to the bubble that Doctor Strange and Emma Frost create to protect a very select group of heroes from Wanda's hex spell that depowered all the mutants, except for the popular ones.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay.
But they did an entire miniseries, 9 issues of Superior Iron Man.
I mean, it's a play.
Yeah, it's a play on the Superior Spider-Man book where Spider-Man was replaced by Doc Ock, and in this one, it's Tony Stark's replaced by himself.
Yeah, an evil version of himself?
It's literally just himself, but bad. Because the audience is aware of the Superior brand now.
Yeah.
Now we have 2.
Right.
When I read Axis, I was like, no. And I stopped reading a lot of that stuff. And when this came out, I was like, why would I indulge in that? I just read it in Axis. Like, I don't want to go home with that guy.
Yeah, but what if... You read a story about a world where Tony Stark and all his friends were evil.
Right.
What about if he was the only evil one? You didn't read that story.
Right. And
that's completely
also,
different.
Yeah, but also didn't want everyone to catch on that he
Right.
was flipped.
Right.
But also doesn't do anything to hide it. And who gives a shit, it doesn't matter. Hickman's got plans. And we'll talk about that at the end. But this is the story. And so I was like, let me get into some like details, because Tom Taylor is primarily known as like the DC guy. DC loves that guy. And for good reason.
This isn't DC!
No, he hastily wrapped up that Dark Ages book we talked about right before he went to his exclusivity contract at DC, where he's like, oh man, we're gonna build up this whole alternate world of Marvel, and I gotta go.
Hey, check.
Oh, they win.
Never mind.
The end. So I was looking into the details of this, and there's not much because Tom Taylor was like, I gotta go to DC. Tom Taylor tries desperately in all of his interviews for this book, as it was coming out in 2014, to describe Tony Stark as not a villain, but also not sympathetic, and you would never root for him. And I'm like, then that's a villain.
Yeah, what else
No,
is a
no, he's not a villain. He's a capitalist.
Right.
Well, you see, he doesn't consider himself the villain.
Yes, but he doesn't even do that creative writing rhetoric. He also says, I don't want him to be a villain. He's entertaining. And entertaining is not good or bad. And I'm like, whatever.
But the premise is that he was flipped to an evil version of himself and didn't flip back.
Like, Red Skull, the Nazi supervillain, becomes a hero that Captain America respects as a result of the flippage. So that means that Tony Stark is exactly as bad as Red Skull was good. Carnage, the mass-murdering psychopath, sacrifices his life to save people, and the symbiote that also has a sentience doesn't stop him. That's how strong the inversion was.
Okay, but
Tony Stark is a villain.
Right, but imagine it's a scale.
Okay.
And on this side you've got the heroes. On this side you've got the villains.
Yes.
So like maybe Carnage was over here, and now has to be over here. Whereas Iron Man was a little bit closer to the middle.
Right.
And now the inversion is like, oh, I'm over here now.
I respect that.
I'm evil, but I'm not that evil. Because I was never that good. I was just selfish.
I was gonna go the exact same direction.
Now, this isn't a comic book roundup review score. You can't put decimal points in there and pass it off as depth.
He was like 2.2 on the good scale.
Yeah, right.
He wasn't even an 8.7.
So he only goes to a
God.
negative 2.2.
Yeah.
He doesn't.
That would mean he's even more evil than ever. If he's in the negatives.
Wait,
No,
are we
no, no,
doing
he
this on
starts-
a 10-point scale? Because I thought we were doing this on a 13.7 point scale.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
It's like acidity, where like a 13 is like very basic, and the highest you can go, and 1 is very acidic, and the middle is 7.
Okay. Oh, okay. Great.
Everything flips around the 7.
You know what? I think Tony Stark would respect that. So Superior Iron Man is also going, so we have to deal with Sixus, and that's done. And then Hickman is running the Avengers franchise in the form of multiple books. And Iron Man is at the fore of it. So Hickman has to deal with Iron Man, who's also a bad guy, but also needs to be doing good guy things because he's writing the Avengers and setting things up for his magnum opus.
I mean, bad guys have done good things before in the name of their own, you know, agenda.
Right, and I guess that's Tony's motivation in this. Taylor couldn't care less. He's not part of it. Like, he's not playing with the group. You know what I mean? He's not jamming with the band. He's assigned a book and he does it. And he sells it in those really lame interviews.
Like, figure it out.
Right.
So here's my question. Did Hickman set up the fact that
Hell no.
Stark didn't do that?
He inherited
he had
that.
to deal with that.
Yeah.
That's a level of disorganization at Marvel that is like criminal.
Yeah.
Like,
But
you
also-
know that Hickman's doing this. You told him to do it.
Right.
You also control editorially what happens with Axis.
Yes.
Like, why are you directly fighting yourself?
Because we're Marvel. That's a Thursday, man. It's what we do. So for no reason, Tony Stark is wearing this new suit. You're like, what? It's also the suit he was wearing when he was inverted in Axis. So you're like, oh, okay, that's the Axis suit. But he's wearing a brand new armor in the new Avengers book that Hickman's writing. So Taylor's like, okay, well then in the opening of the book, he will wear that suit. And you're like, okay, I love that suit, sweet. And then he throws it away and then wears the Superior Iron Man suit. And you're like, okay. So Stark is in San Francisco. He has set up shop on Alcatraz Island and built a new Stark Tower that takes up the entire island, and he owns it. Because Stark is a futurist and a super scientist and a super genius, so he's able to like wirelessly contact legions of lawyers and money people to make magic things happen immediately. He just goes like, oh, acquisition.
I pulled some strings and now I own Alcatraz.
Yes, and it's like Tony Stark could always have done that, but didn't because he wasn't inverted. And now he does. Like all of the training wheels, all the safeguards, all the blinders are off. Tony Stark is just an unfettered
So
filterless Stark.
now he just openly bribes people, probably, to make things like that happen.
Yeah.
He has enough money to, he could.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
But
like
even
he
then,
could
like,
always have, and the only thing that stopped him was the fact he was a good guy.
Except that he's also like really worried about public image, so he does probably use shell corporations, or he wirelessly creates shell corporations that then instantaneously facilitate illicit activity. You're like, what? Anyway, these are all in the weeds. No one making this book is thinking about any of this stuff.
We're just trying to figure out how it works after the fact.
If you're wondering how he does it so fast, it's because he's so effing smart.
Right.
Stark is in San Francisco. He owns Alcatraz. He sets it up as like a pleasure island with his tower on it, and he's good to go.
Right.
And
so he sets up like a supervillain lair. on
basically,
Alcatraz.
yes.
Okay, got it.
And,
he continues to wear his supervillain suit from when everyone was evil, and they all knew that they were
he stopped
evil.
wearing it.
Well, he stopped wearing it, but he goes back to wearing it later.
And he goes back to wearing it. But the public didn't know he was a supervillain when he was wearing it.
Right. But his friends know.
They should, and they don't.
So as soon as he starts wearing the evil version of him suit, does anyone be like, huh, I wonder if Stark didn't actually switch back because he's still wearing that suit?
Literally no one in the Marvel Universe at any point in its history thinks he wasn't brought back from Axis. Okay. No one talks about Axis in this book that is here because of Axis.
I mean, a suit is just a suit. It's the person inside that matters, right?
And he's a monster.
And they're probably all like, why is he doing this? I don't understand.
The reality is there's no time for anyone to do that. And in Hickman's book, Stark is also a piece of shit, but for legitimate Illuminati reasons.
Right, right.
And I guess you could blame the inversion, but like, then why did he do all that other stuff before the inversion? Like, no.
Okay.
Hickman is not thinking about inversion when they do it, but he does do the courtesy of when it all comes to a head, let Stark wear this suit. Like, at the end of everything, Stark wears the inversion suit.
Okay.
So we close the loop. So Stark is in San Francisco, and he is making Extremis into an app that you can download on your phone. And the Extremis app enables the user to use Extremis to create the ideal version of themselves. That means that like it'll make you, if you're fat, you're thin. If you're thin, you're jacked. If you have a small penis, it's huge. Like it just changes you, but into the ideal version of you. And he makes it into like an app on your phone, and it's free to use. So everyone in San Francisco has the app, and they're like, woo, I'm
actually
sexy.
physically alters your body?
That is the premise of the Extremis app, yes.
How does it do that?
We do find out, and
Oh.
it's more nefarious than him just downloading it from the App Store.
Okay.
But as a result...
Is like clicking on the terms and conditions selling part of your soul?
I mean, it might as well be. Actually, there's no terms and conditions joke. It's not like, you should have read them.
Right.
You know, no, he
That's a missed
completely
opportunity.
bypasses them. I agree. So Stark is like the most popular person in San Francisco. And of course, it's like catching, the world is like, whoa!
The book starts, this has already happened?
That happened off panel.
Okay.
Okay.
Weird side question. If you have the Extremis app, can you give yourself superpowers?
No, the app only facilitates you being hot.
Okay. Right. It can't, that's a bridge too far.
Yeah, come on.
It's completely magical and can make you look like anything, but it can't.
No,
I
it
guess-
can, probably, but
he hasn't enabled that feature
that's
yet.
right, yeah.
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 And
Yeah,
maybe
that's an Extremis 2.0.
Exactly. So then the city is being attacked by what looks like the Abomination, but he has like earrings and he's wearing like cargo shorts. This is Teen Abomination, new character, new invention.
Oh, I thought if someone just made themselves look like an abomination.
Right, like,
That's my ideal version of myself.
yeah, I'm an Abomination. Boom, I have powers now. Like, nope, it's not
I'm
about that.
jacked. I'm huge.
Exactly, and I have Abomination powers. No, this is Teen Abomination, new character. He shows up and he's messing up the city looking for Tony Stark. He wants revenge. San Francisco is actually like a weird setting for a number of superheroes. Like, they had previously established that Daredevil had been under fire for being Daredevil. People assumed / accused him of being Matt Murdock / Daredevil. And after everything kind of like wrapped up, he and his girlfriend moved to San Francisco. So Daredevil is in San Francisco, but so is Jen Walters' She-Hulk. And so She-Hulk...
it's just a mecca. It's because of the tech industry is centered there.
Exactly.
So everyone's going to San Francisco.
Right? Let's go.
Property
wait,
values are through
Westward
the
Ho!
Is he there and using the Extremis app to make himself see?
No. No, Daredevil does not want to see, thanks to the Extremis app. He is there unrelated to Stark. Stark's like the last one to move to San Francisco. But Stark is in San Fran. He's having a great time. Teen Abomination attacks. She-Hulk shows up. Iron Man and She-Hulk team up to fight Teen Abomination. Stark caves this kid's head in. He doesn't kill him, but he is super reckless and mean about it. You know, like, he's like, what's your name? He's like, I'm Teen Abomination. He's like, that's the lamest name I've ever heard. And I'm like, you invented it, motherfucker. What are you talking about? But like, he's invented to be lame and stupid.
Right.
In fact, and here's another interesting behind-the-scenes tidbit about this book. It wasn't originally going to be Teen Abomination. The joke was going to be that it was going to be a teen man thing. As like a dick joke. But it ended up being Abomination. They kiboshed the man thing joke. So, Teen Abomination's here. He seems to have some kind of quest, and it is curtailed by running into both She-Hulk and Iron Man, who beats the crap out of him mercilessly. She-Hulk is like, that's kind of harsh. What's up with that? And he's like, eat me. Also, it's revealed, after Teen Abomination knocks his block off, that Stark's not even in the suit. That suit that is in the New Avengers and Avengers and stuff, yeah, that's not even piloted by Stark. Unless he's in it. Yeah. In those
Why would I
clothes.
wear it? I'm not going to wear it.
Well, I wear it sometimes. You'll never know.
You'll never know. Sometimes he's there, sometimes he isn't. But right now he's piloting remotely while he is living it up in his pool on his island, surrounded by hot babes.
Nice.
So Pepper Potts shows up to, you know,
Rain on his parade.
Rain on his parade,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Get in the pool!" And she's like, "Oh no, you don't. Like, I need to know more about like this Extremis thing is a problem, and it's weird, and it's not like you." So they agree to meet outside of the pool. Stark takes an hour because he needs to bang people in the pool. Like that's what he suggests.
Oh.
And then as they're talking, Stark reveals his new version of his superior Iron Man suit, which acts more like a symbiote than it does Extremis or any of his normal tech. And that's because Stark has stolen the coding sequences of symbiotes and has essentially synthesized it into a kind of like symbiote-esque Extremis-light version of his armor.
Does it live in his blood?
No, it does not. It would be cool if it did, but no. Instead, it's a separate entity that he calls upon, and it can harden and it can morph and do all kinds of stuff. It doesn't seem to change like shape into clothing. It doesn't turn into It's not like an excuse to see all the Iron Man armors.
Right.
Nor is it like a plot explanation that the cartoon show never reconciled, because in the cartoon show of Iron Man, he could be like, oh no, I need to drill through this thing. Armor, drill. And he turns into a completely different armor that is able to drill or sustain, you know, hot temperatures or cold temperatures or space. This is, of course, all just so that they can sell individual action figures of those armors, which of course they did. But also it was fun to see in the cartoon show, but it made no logical sense. But now that we live in an age of nanotech and so forth, we can just say that the armor can do that. That's all to say. The armor just makes himself look like that. And it can switch from like an armor that looks like Iron Man to the like superior Iron Man like face showing versions.
I want to have a 90s head sock.
Yeah, why not? That was like my favorite time.
Not only give myself a 90s head sock, I'll also give myself glowing eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, it's like it's a mental interface. He's doing computer shit when his eyes glow.
I want to look like Raiden. That'd be fucking sweet. You guys remember Mortal Kombat?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna test my might.
It's friggin' awesome.
Pepper's like, this is all messed up. Your Extremis thing is terrible. And Stark's like, well, that, you know.
Yeah, you didn't mind my Extremis last night.
No, they're not together anymore. In fact, Pepper Potts used to be with Happy Hogan, but both they're divorced and Hogan's dead. So,
oh my gosh,
she's just alone.
Okay, well,
yeah. So Stark's like, yeah, you know, I wasn't gonna give them Extremis forever. And then you hear all this screaming from the pool, and it turns out that everyone in the pool who used Extremis. No, it's not that far. It's more just like everyone is suddenly like fat or has stretch marks or isn't ideal. The Extremis is worn off, and now you've enjoyed your free trial period of Extremis, and you may re-up for $99 a day.
$99 a day.
And people will pay it.
Nope, I'm going to the gym.
You know, that's the thing, is that like it could be a fabulous motivator, and that's certainly what Stark suggests outwardly, but he knows deep down the true nature of people. We don't want to eat less and exercise more, which is how I'll become that. Instead, I just want to push a button on my phone and suddenly I'm my ideal self. So
yeah, the only reason Stark looks like the way he does is because his armor works him out when he's in it. It's like an ab shocker.
That's right, yeah. The whole damn thing, it just, while he sleeps, it zaps every muscle in his body, so it's just That doesn't work. You can't just zap your muscles into being ripped.
You can if you're Tony Stark.
Yeah. Well, he invented it.
He figured out how.
Hey,
He cracked the code.
well, one time he was like up at 3 in the morning. He saw the infomercial and he's like, no.
No, but I could do
Wait a minute. And then he invented
that. Wouldn't work, but
an Iron Man suit that does that. Yeah, I could do that.
Instead of the Hulk Buster, it's the Bulk Buster.
Like $100,000, you climb into the Iron Man suit, and then it just
go about your day.
Yeah.
Just walk around and stuff.
Yeah.
And it will
get you ripped
Yeah.
in fast order.
Yeah.
So Stark's like, all right, well, he proceeds to make an announcement that he's going to give away like a free day of Extremis to everyone who shows up at like this big popular street in San Francisco. Like, I'm going to be there at this hour, show up, and everyone in my vicinity will get free Extremis for the day. That's like how great of a guy I am.
Yeah, by vicinity I mean within 5 feet though.
Yeah.
It's real close.
No, it's everybody in the area. He's not that much. He definitely wants it to work. He wants to see its effect on people. And in fact, people in San Francisco are losing their minds. You know, people are acting like drug addicts going through withdrawal.
Right.
And so we saw that before Stark pulled the plug on the Extremis for everybody, there were suddenly like roving gangs of beautiful people who were giving not so beautiful people a hard time. Like,
Why?
hey, you're not attractive. Let's kick you in the nards. And then
You must not be using Extremis.
yeah, exactly. And then Daredevil shows up and he's like, I'm in the book too. And don't beat that person just because they're ugly. And the ugly person's like, hey.
You wouldn't bother doing? Like, why would you waste your time doing that?
I don't know. I guess because like you're already beautiful and perfect. You're just, this is everything I've always wanted to do. Now I guess I'll just,
I'm
Take it
hot.
out of
I guess I'll go beat up homeless people.
well, that's what hot people do, don't they? Apparently, according to this weird book. So that happens. There's also a kid, like a teenager, who holds a girl at gunpoint in an alley to shake her down for money so that he can get back to having Extremis.
Yeah.
And Daredevil intercedes. He stops them. And then the girl is like, I'm internet famous, which no human being has ever said out loud. And she's like, and I've taken your picture now, and I'm going to post it everywhere, and your life is over.
Oh.
And the kid was like really upset and scared before all that happened. He didn't have any bullets in the gun, and that he, was clearly just like a recovering addict who was freaking out and was in a desperate situation. But
Right.
now his life is ruined because of social media. Yes, we get the social commentary.
And the fact
Thank
that
you.
he, even with an empty gun, still held someone at gunpoint.
Yeah,
Well,
he
exactly. No, it was
he
still
was intending
traumatizing.
to rob her.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no. He didn't
was
want
going
to
to
take her
steal
money.
her money.
Yeah. But does it justify like ruining his life socially? Sure he should
Right.
face justice, but what is social justice in that situation?
Right.
So Daredevil shows up at Stark's house, like, hey, this Extremis thing is gross and terrible. And Stark's like, okay, get out of my house, and like pushes him out the window. Daredevil's like, I'm blind and I'm in the water. I'm gonna friggin' die. And then eventually doesn't, and he swims to shore. So Stark goes to town, and he's like, hey, everybody, I'm great, woo! And, he lands, and people are like, this is really weird, but also we, like, love having, like, us being hot, so, like, it's kind of a mixed bag. Like, I don't want to criticize you in public,
Right.
but I also feel weird about it. And then this dude shows up, and he's like, hey, Stark, like, you ruined my son's life, I'm gonna kill you. And he pulls out a gun, and he points it at Stark's face, and Stark's like, that's okay, you're not gonna kill me. And the guy fires, and Stark reveals, like, I have this special invisible polymer that covers my face but allows you to see it. So he grabs me, flies in the air, and he looks him up, and he finds out, like, okay, so, like, he's the father of the kid whose life was destroyed by social media.
Oh.
Who held up the girl. So Stark's
weird.
like, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna delete that picture from the internet and from that girl's phone, wirelessly from my armor, because I can do that.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I have access to everything.
Yep, I can do that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to bring you back down if you download Extremis and tell everybody that this is all a publicity stunt. And he's like, okay.
Yeah.
So he
course,
does,
yeah.
and he's hot, and they land, and everyone's like, woohoo! And Matt Murdock's in the crowd, and he's like, no one heard that but me, because of my special Daredevil hearing. So I know that Tony Stark is like a straight-up villain.
Right. But because that's the most villainous thing he could do.
I mean, it's pretty messed up, but also, like, it's
I mean,
number 87 on a list of like 2,000 things that Tony Stark's doing that are morally horrible.
He's like blackmailing him, I guess.
Yeah.
But he's blackmailing him by saying like, well, you did do all these things.
You did try to murder me in public. Like, you
Yeah.
are going to jail unless you don't create problems for my like world conquering app.
Well, yeah, but he's just being a capitalist,
Yes.
right? Like he's just
No, it is naked, unfettered capitalism at work.
It's not even like. It's not even really illegal.
No.
He's like basically paying the guy to say nice things about him.
Yes.
Which is what anybody does who owns a company.
Absolutely. No, he's like, I'm also not going to press charges if you do this.
Right. Well,
Right.
He does say, like, and if you refuse to do it, like, it is a long way down. Like, he does threaten to kill him.
Okay.
But, of course, we know he's not going to do that.
Right.
I mean,
Because
he might.
that would look pretty bad.
That would look really bad.
If he, like, tried to shoot him, he flies up in the air, and then he just falls immediately where they once were.
Yeah.
But Daredevil...
He'd be able to spin it.
That's true. I mean, look. People are monsters. You know? You see a guy murder somebody and then offers to make you gorgeous at the push of a button. Most people are going to be like, I didn't say anything. What guy?
Right.
I mean, that guy was a bad guy, though.
Yeah. So Stark's passed out. Daredevil sneaks into his house, and then he proceeds to knock him out further by hitting him with some kind of like sleeping agent. And one of his conquests is like, what's going on? And Daredevil's like, we're teaming up. We do this all the time. And then leaves with his body.
It's a team up. We do these.
So obviously Stark wasn't wearing his armor when he was banging all these people, which I'm like, why? And so Daredevil has him in a darkened room, a completely dark room. And he's like, you're in my world now, bitch.
That's awesome.
So Stark's like, okay. And, Stark like tries to get him, and Daredevil just like slaps him in the face. He's like, no. Like, in the land of the blind, the Daredevil's king. And Stark's like, okay, well, my armor knows where I am. And the armor just like breaks down the door, envelops Stark, and then grabs Daredevil.
Huh. Interesting.
He then blasts Daredevil in the face, and then Daredevil passes out. And when Daredevil comes to, he's in an apartment. Stark's there. Stark is mockingly wearing Daredevil's like blindness sunglasses while he's looking at him.
Was hungover.
Yeah, that's true. And reveals that he has used Extremis to make Matt Murdock see.
Okay.
He's like, you're welcome. Now you're in my pocket.
What?
If you want to keep seeing, you'll endorse Extremis. You'll use Extremis. I'll even give you like the friends and family discount. And you get off my back about it.
Does this make him lose his Daredevil powers?
No.
No, he's got his Daredevil powers plus he can see. It's the
That's
best
right.
of both worlds.
That's right.
Has Matt Murdock always wanted to see?
No.
Okay.
No, Stark assumes that Matt has always wanted to see. Now look, Matt used to be able to see and can't.
Right.
I feel like if he could, he would. And I feel like I've read at least one Daredevil story in which his sight actually messes up his Daredevil powers because he is so used to the radar sense.
Right.
But there's also been at least one other Daredevil story in which Daredevil has gotten his sight regained. But here's another one.
Okay.
And so Stark's like, yeah, no, you're in my pocket. And he doesn't understand because Stark is inverted.
Right.
You know, like,
that won't.
that will not deter Matt Murdock. Like,
Right.
he is a fanatic. He believes in right and wrong. He's
Right.
going to stop you, whether you, like, give
Right.
him something or
Like
not.
it might be nice to see, but he doesn't need it.
No. Like, I'm used to it. I've spent, like, 25 years of my life in the darkness.
Huh. So he's inverted, and he's just not very smart. Because like you don't have to be a super genius to understand
To know
that
people.
There are people who are motivated
By other things than your own pursuits.
yeah. He's telling the reader, because he's looking at the reader. He's like, don't try to figure out like what happened to me.
Yeah.
I'm just me, and I've always been this way, and now I'm just letting loose.
Yes, and it's like, no, you're not.
But I know you were just
changed.
flipped by a fucking event.
Yeah.
Also,
Why
the lights on your armor are all red. That's clearly evil.
They did turn red, and I guess it's when he gets really aggressive, it doesn't factor. They don't bring it up.
Right.
Like the colors. They do, however, have like a backup where they show you all of the different logo designs for the Extremis app that they went through. And that's kind of fun to see because you're like, oh, wow, like that's some fun graphic design. That's for an app I'm supposed to hate that's never going to really factor in after the story's over.
Yeah,
so
that's like seeing the different armors that Tony could have worn during this.
It could have, but doesn't.
Exactly.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Pepper Potts has met up clandestinely with someone else. She's like someone else in the Iron Man armor, older Iron Man.
Old Iron Man, yeah, old diaper
8
armor.
years ago, they say.
Oh.
Which means it had to have been in the 80s. because in the 90s, 5 years ago was in the 70s.
Right.
But that's using Spider-Man metrics, not Iron Man metrics.
Right. Who knows? But it does look really old.
They actually do cite the book that they reference for no good reason for precedence of what they're doing in this story.
Oh.
And it is from the 80s, so
Okay.
whatever.
Oh, okay, there you go.
That's their metric.
But we don't know who it is.
Oh, no. Well, they mean for you to wonder, but I don't think anyone at any point thought, gee willikers, who's in the armor? It's no one. Pepper is talking to an artificial intelligence backup of Tony Stark.
Oh. Interesting.
She's like, the worst day has come. Like, Tony Stark is evil, and he's either been taken over or whatever. I don't know, and I never will.
Don't forget
that happened, and you'll never find out, and they're never going to bring it up. It's almost like they're ashamed of it. Like, they went like, all right, well, Axis created this beautiful opportunity for superior Iron Man. And you're like, thanks. But yeah, so we're in this fun old diaper armor for Tony Stark Iron Man. Pepper Potts is conspiring with a older, 8-year-older version of Tony Stark,
Which means
artificial
he's not as
intelligence.
intelligent.
Right.
Right, he doesn't know as much.
No, but he is spending time catching up on the last 8 years of technology.
Right.
So that he could be ready to face himself. And at that point, I'm like, oh my God. Because I remember in Civil War II, Carol Danvers punched Tony Stark into a Kryptonian healing coma, and then we spend like a way too long period of artificial intelligence, Tony Stark running around as Iron Man, and you're like, get out of here with these artificially intelligent Tony Stark stories. Blah. But I'll take it for this because whatever. Because whatever!
Right.
So Pepper is conspiring with old Tony to take down real Tony.
Right.
Who, of course, is also inverted Tony.
Right.
Right.
And no one knows it, and they never will. Teen Abomination breaks out of his SHIELD prison and goes on a rampage to take down Stark. He goes to the island. Stark handily beats him and gets down to the nitty-gritty about like who Teen Abomination is.
So Teen Abomination's gonna be a character.
Yes. Teen Abomination is now
okay, because
like
I was thinking, I'm like, this
lead
is
of the
really
book.
random, this character being at the beginning of this book.
Oh my God.
They introduced a new character just to deal with him in like 2 pages? That's
yeah,
really weird.
which if it was just to make him into a jobber, like they would have just used like Stiltman or something.
Right, okay.
But no, we're set. We got to make Teen Abomination working.
He is.
He is a new hotness of the new generation.
Key element of Superior Iron Man.
This is what everyone relates to now.
Yeah, well, like hopefully he's our demographic. And it's
Yeah.
like, no, he's not, and he sucks, and nobody likes him. And Stark hates him, and he's like, your name sucks, and you're stupid,
Right.
Like, and you're garbage. And I'm like, what are you trying to do here? Like, what is this? Like, I understand that Stark's a jerk, but like, he's a character you invented for this story. I'm supposed to care about him in some way.
Tough love.
Right.
It's like you're a moron, and you gotta figure it out, or people are gonna make fun of you the rest of your life.
Exactly.
Is that what you want?
Yeah, you're gonna run around calling yourself Teen Abomination. What if you turn 20?
Also, what are you going to write on your chest?
Are you still gonna be Teen Abomination?
Right?
You gotta change your name.
Right? So Teen Abomination reveals his real name's Jamie, and he's like, no, I'm not calling you that either. That name sucks. And I'm like, okay, like, shots fired on Jamie's.
Give him an option.
Right, I know.
It's either Teen Abomination or Jamie.
Right?
One's better than the other.
Is he like, are they trying to make his character like Clint Eastwood in Gran Torino? This guy's kind of an asshole, but there is something there.
Right.
And he does have a heart of gold.
Yeah.
Like, is that what I'm supposed to think about this version of Tony?
I don't think so.
Okay.
No, you're not supposed to root for Superior Iron Man.
And yet
Okay.
some people are definitely rooting for Superior Iron Man in this
people
book.
with Homelander posters are definitely rooting for Superior Iron Man.
Yeah.
While Teen Abomination and Tony are reconciling, because ultimately Superior Iron Man says like, all right, I'm going to help you, I'm going to cure it. Because
I could use you.
well, yes, and Teen Abomination is like,
You're
I don't want to
impressionable.
be this. Like, I wasn't always this.
Right.
And I want to go back, and it's your fault that I am this. And he's like, all right, well, let's figure that out. Meanwhile, Daredevil, Matt Murdock, has been cited. He only has 24 hours. So he immediately goes to the phone, he calls Foggy. And he says, you need to get down here right now. So Foggy comes down, it takes him hours to get there. And when Foggy arrives, he's like, what? And Matt goes, I just wanted to see you. And then his sight fades away.
Aww.
I feel like a video call would have sufficed.
That's
No, I
like saying,
wanted to
I
see
feel
you
like a
in person.
postcard of a sunset is way better than
Yeah.
looking your best friend in the eyes with this God-given sight that you didn't plan on having.
Right.
That being said,
No, I gotta find out what all this internet porn is about.
yeah.
In Braille, it sucks.
Well, it took Foggy a while to get there. Like, he did that off panel.
Yeah. So Matt's like pissed. Like, you just made it really personal for me. You know,
Yeah.
you gave me my sight back, which I don't want. I do.
Right.
But you messed with my brain, and that's kind of what Stark is doing.
And you did it without my permission.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You violated
And tried
my
to
body.
use it as leverage against me.
Yeah, exactly. Like, screw you. Also, you can cure blindness now, and you don't? So Stark is like, all right, well, I'm going to go on like a morning show. And he does, and they're talking about Extremis, and like, some people are not too thrilled with this whole like $99 price tag. He's like, it is pretty expensive.
So's the intellectual property that I used to create it, so get fucked.
Exactly. But he also wants to address like the crime element of Extremis, like this whole like.
All right, the people that are robbing other people.
Yeah, the roving gangs of beautiful people.
Right.
And also people like robbing other people to get money to be able to use Extremis. Like, it has essentially created a city full of junkies. Mm-hmm. And so
I realize you might not like that.
Yes, that is why I have invented these surveillance drones that are all over the city. And they already have your DNA and your information. And what they'll do is they're just going to keep an eye on you. And once they like have your retina scan or whatever, they can also look up like all your internet history and all of your records and everything like that. And I'm a superhero, so you can trust me. And so if you commit a crime anywhere, I'll know about it, and you'll immediately like go to jail.
Right.
So like
So
actually,
don't even worry. There's no more crime.
Crime doesn't even exist in San Francisco anymore. And it's like what? Okay.
Right.
Damn it.
Interesting.
It's just like, well, if you think that this is morally gray, let me tip the color scale a little bit for you. And so and one of them like goes over to Daredevil, and it's like, Matt Murdock. He's like, and he throws a billy club at it.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, well that one's free, but like the next drone you break is gonna have to come out. Like you're gonna have to pay for it,
Right, because that's property. That's my property.
Exactly.
You're destroying.
And you're not a great lawyer. Or I should say, you're not a rich lawyer.
No, yeah, you're not a powerful.
You're not going to be able to afford to break all these robots.
Exactly. So S.H.I.E.L.D. goes to Stark's place because they're like,
Yeah, who said you could do all this?
Yeah, but when they get there, they encounter Teen Abomination, and so there's a big silly slap fight between S.H.I.E.L.D. agents and Teen Abomination when Iron Man finally shows up. And
it'd be great if Teen Abomination was just there.
Right,
like,
and they're like,
eating
oh
snacks
shit!
on the couch, and they just start attacking him.
Exactly. It's. I wish it were that. He's more just standing there. Like, Stark knew that S.H.I.E.L.D. was coming, and he told Jamie to like stand there
Hey,
specifically.
do me a favor. Stand over there for about 5 minutes.
In like,
And S.H.I.E.L.D.'s just
now.
like, a ghost monster, attack it!
fire!
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
He must be attacking Tony, get him!
these are all.
I was just standing there, man.
He looks just like the Abomination,
right.
but younger. Definitely
Younger
hit him
and
with
cool.
all the missiles.
Yeah, he looks like he likes to skateboard.
Don't hold back, Abomination's super powerful.
Yeah, kill
Assume
him.
that he can't be killed. Hit him with everything.
Hit him with everything you got. Send him to another dimension. So Stark shows up, and he's like, yeah, no, like, get out of here. I have, like, wireless lawyers that have already taken care of everything. Like, go away.
Right, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. And
She was
they're
like, we're supposed to be spying on everybody in America. You're kind of invading our territory.
Right,
Just
here.
saying, toes are stepped on.
are you actually mad at me for that, or are you mad at me because I didn't share this technology specifically with you? Like,
Can it be both?
oh, absolutely. Oh, I got a list. So Stark's like, all right, well, that was fun. Come on with me. And so he brings him downstairs where he's like, all right, we're going to, like, figure out your situation.
So this is what he's using Team Runway. He's like,
Yeah.
I can't cure you yet, Ben Grimm, but just keep working for me.
Yes, keep
and someday,
being a member of my team.
Right, I will probably find a cure.
I'm
for
sure
you.
I will.
Could've
I'll do
cured
any
you-
day.
Cured you from the get-go. I just didn't.
That does not happen in this
You're
book.
more interesting as Teen Abomination.
I promise you he isn't. But that's a great point, and it never comes up in this book. It's actually
okay.
weird that he never goes like, oh, I could have cured you any minute.
Right.
Like, Extremis would have done that.
It's also surprising that
Interesting.
Ben Grimm is not hightailing it over to San Francisco.
Sweet Aunt Petunia, give me one of them phones, because there's no way Ben Grimm has a smartphone. So
I mean, he does. He breaks it constantly.
that's true. Crink, damn it!
Use your fingerprint to sign on. Shit.
Yeah, yeah. So Daredevil shows up, and he's like, "That's it. Like, I figured it out, by the way." So at some point, Daredevil's like standing by the bay, and he hears something. He's like, "Oh, I've got you." And then he goes back to Stark's place after S.H.I.E.L.D. has left, and he's like, yeah, I've got you. I figured it out now. Like, you can't transmit a virus through a phone. Like, everyone in San Francisco has been infected with Extremis. You put it in the water supply. Like, you have literally infected every person in San Francisco with Extremis, and then you developed like an app as like theater, but you control it, and you turn it on or off at will. Everyone has Extremis in them, whether they want to use it or not.
You control whether it gets like activated to make them beautiful or not.
Exactly. Well, and they didn't sign up for it. Like, people who didn't like sign up for the app, like, they still have Extremis in them anyway.
Right.
Yeah, and you could turn it on and turn it off at your whim, whether they'd agree to it or not.
Exactly.
But they could never remove it from their body.
That's right. Yeah, they can't uninstall it. It's in
It's
them.
like when you buy a computer and it comes bundled with all this bullshit.
There's all this bloatware.
And you can't get rid of it. It's just there all the time.
Yeah, it's part of
whether you use it or not.
Exactly.
And you didn't sign up for that.
Yeah. And Daredevil reveals like he could hear it. He could hear like the frequency in the water or something. And I'm like, no. But Stark is convinced.
Viruses have a hum.
Yeah, and well, it's electromagnetic secret nanotech viruses do.
Right.
But here's the thing. I would also take that Daredevil bluffed Stark into admitting that that was what happened.
Oh, it's like, this is the only way that it could really happen, so I'm going to make a guess that that's what it is.
Yeah, and then just say it with confidence, and it'll make Tony Stark reveal it, which of course he does.
Right.
And so he's like, well, what happens now? And Daredevil's like, well, you've committed several FDA violations, so you're going to jail.
What?
Like, you can't just like put a agent in the water supply without any kind of like. I'm a lawyer, you see.
Right.
But yeah, you're going to jail. And Teen Abomination's like, but I need Stark to cure me, so now I'm going to fight Daredevil. So Teen Abomination attacks Daredevil, and so they fight, and ultimately Daredevil ends up getting like thrown through the window, and he falls, and Stark sends his armor to catch him in like a weird act of selflessness. You're like, oh, like Stark cares if Daredevil lives or dies, which like is
but he's
not
evil, Tony Stark.
Right, and it's like, no, he's not evil. He's entertaining, and it's like, no. Like,
except I didn't save him for his benefit. I saved him for my benefit.
Right,
I
like,
can't have Daredevil dying on my doorstep.
Right, like he could though. It doesn't. It's weird.
He could just disappear the body.
Yeah, absolutely.
No one know what happened to Daredevil.
Yeah, no, it's weird that he has a concerned look on his face when Daredevil falls.
Yeah.
Or that he sends the armor to retrieve him with any urgency,
right,
based on the like wry smile of evil that he has on his face in every other panel in this series.
Right.
Especially considering that apparently Daredevil figured out his evil scheme.
Absolutely.
Right.
So then we find out that Stark has taken Daredevil. He's enveloped in the suit, and then he knocks Daredevil out. So Stark brings Daredevil to like a secret underground lab. He then scrambles Matt's brain so he doesn't remember having done any of those things or interacted with Tony in any way. And so Daredevil's out of the book now.
Great.
So Matt wakes up in a hospital, and Tony Stark's like, hey man, like, we had a fight with this Teen Abomination character, but don't worry, I worked it out, and also he's a good guy now, and we'll get the particulars squared away, but this way you don't have to reference anything that happened in here in the Daredevil book. So long, thanks for being in the book. So
also,
Daredevil leaves.
I changed no status quos.
That's right. So
that sucks.
Does Daredevil even remember the fact that he had his sight at one point?
No. Well, I mean, like, he shouldn't.
Yeah, because that was part of
the whole story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So he's just like, yeah, you just lost a few days.
Yeah.
You know, that happens sometimes.
Which
you got
happens.
Punched. You got hit pretty hard.
Yeah,
by
it's
the
called
Abomination.
concussions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's also a shot of Matt looking at Stark when he's talking, and you see like the Daredevil radar sense, and I'm like, does Matt know that Stark's lying? Is that what we're doing? But it never happened. It doesn't come up.
He
should.
He absolutely should. But like maybe Stark's wearing some kind of like a heart protection.
Oh, yeah,
or maybe
yeah.
because of like his heart injury, it like beats differently than Matt's used to. It doesn't matter.
Right.
So then we get to the bottom of Teen Abomination's origin. You're like, what? Where's this book going? And it is going in a direction, I promise, but it's like not an exciting one. So Teen Abomination's origin is that like his mom worked for Stark, and Stark was cutting corners. The kid was at the job site when like a corner cut gamma related accident befalls them, and so the kid gets hit with gamma radiation, but nothing happens to him, and so like the woman loses her job, like Stark fires her, and so they like live in poverty, and while they're living in poverty, this kid is getting his ass kicked by like rowdy teenagers, and they break his skateboard. And when he asks his mom for a new one, his mom's like, we can't afford one. And he gets mad, and he like smashes the ground and becomes Teen Abomination and inadvertently murders his mom. And that's what sets him off on like a path to kill Tony Stark, or at least get, you know, revenge on him.
Well, that's insane.
Yeah, and you're like, whoa, that's a really dark and sad origin for Teen Abomination, a character I shouldn't like and don't care about.
Right.
Hey,
no, but you should look at his origin.
Right,
Sorry, I made you kill your own mom.
And like, oh no, Katrina, his mom, like this character we met in this story, that's an interesting, sad story. But whatever. And it's like, of course, you're thinking like, oh man, like, so yeah, he becomes Teen Abomination in the explosion, the mom dies. No. We're subverting your expectations here.
Right.
You know, it happens at home, quietly. And Teen Abomination blames himself. And the idea is that, like, he's mad at himself for killing his mom, and so, like, he'll never stop being mad at himself, and so he'll never stop being Teen Abomination.
Oh, that's his secret? He's always angry?
Yes, that's exactly right. Stark doesn't say that per se, but he does say specifically, like, if I killed my mom, I'd be mad at myself forever.
Yeah, well, I guess you're a piece of shit for killing your mom.
That's exactly what he says, basically. Cementing him as Teen Abomination. So... yeah.
Yeah, you can revert back to normal anytime now if you just forgave yourself. But you can't.
But you never will, because I wouldn't. Here's the thing, the reality is you may, but I never will.
They reference here another adventure. Is this a real story? The day Black Llama returned?
Yes, there is an actual comic book where Black Llama, 1L, that means like, you know, more like a Swami type character as opposed to a...
Okay.
A cud-spitting alpaca?
That's correct. Yeah, in the Black Llama story, Iron Man fights what they call Whiplash, but I remember being Blacklash, but it doesn't matter. And it's a really weird esoteric story that shouldn't have any bearing on this whatsoever. You could have made up a story, but they legitimately and specifically cite an example.
No, we're going to steep it in continuity. That way it's legit.
Yeah, and I think that's what it is, because like it also needs, and I think it's smart in as much as, you know, we need to establish that like Tony comes up with the contingency plan because of Black Llama. This tells you exactly how old the AI is that's going to fight Tony at the end of the story. But he's also an AI, Tony, that has already caught up on all of the history and data and technology that Tony has access to, but morally he will be more like 80s Tony Stark than, you know, inverted axis Tony Stark.
Right.
But whatever. Because Tony has this like traumatizing mind-bending experience with Black Llama, he creates the contingency. I need to have a backup of myself in case I'm ever taken over or go rogue or whatever.
Right, and that happened right around the same time as the accident that created
Teen Abomination.
That's a weird coincidence.
Well, it needs to be in order for us to establish Teen Abomination.
Right.
It's interesting that Evil Tony didn't remember this version of himself and decided to wipe it out.
Well, that's interesting you should say that, because he doesn't remember it. Like, he is missing days. And
he does say that that time was very hazy for me.
Yeah, that's right. And it's like, oh, I can understand. It's because you were probably an alcoholic. And it's like, no, that wasn't it. It was actually because he deliberately removed those days from his mind so that he wouldn't know about the contingency he created for himself.
Just in case he ever turned evil.
Yes. If I'm evil, then I'll know I've created a contingency and I'll try to undo it. But if I don't remember I made the contingency in the first place, then when I become evil, I can fight myself in the future, which of course he does.
But also, you live in a world with like
Clones.
Captain America.
Oh yeah, you're a founding member of the Avengers.
Like, do you really think it's better for you to create an AI version of yourself than it is to just rely on other heroes to stop you?
Yeah, but that would be an Avengers story, and this is an Iron Man book. You know, like, listen, Tower of Babel wasn't a Batman comic book. That happened in a JLA comic book. So obviously, Batman's contingency for him going rogue in his response to the contingency being taken out of his hands was the Justice League. But of course, in a Batman comic, 25 years later, we learned that actually the contingency is an evil robot that Batman made that he wasn't aware of.
Right. That because he had someone else make it.
No, remember? Zuranar makes the robot.
The alternate version of himself.
So it's an extreme version of himself that makes the robot.
Isn't it more likely that if you create this AI version of yourself, that it will actually go rogue and hurt people than it is that you will be turned evil in a way where you would have remembered it but can't because you specifically erased the memory, and also nobody else can stop you except yourself?
No, Ethan, that's impossible because you see, I locked the AI into a time when I was good.
Yes.
It can't possibly learn. Oh, wait, it learned everything in the past history in the past, like, 10.
It doesn't go back. That does not happen. But between the two things, one of them has happened. You know, I can anticipate the one thing that did happen.
Right.
Because it did.
Right.
You know, the other one won't happen because it hasn't yet.
But it could.
But wasn't he stopped in this other adventure?
Yeah.
Despite there not being an AI version of himself to stop him?
Yeah, but if there
So
had
doesn't
been, it would
that
have been faster.
prove that you don't need that?
That's very true, yes. But we do know he does need it because Superior Iron Man is here to stay.
Right, so in this case. Yeah, why does Pepper go to an AI version of him before asking Rhodey for help?
Right.
Or like anyone else?
Yeah, yeah. Well, because Pepper is a linchpin to the my brain went rogue, you know, plan. Like
Right.
Pepper needs to activate the AI.
I
told Pepper to do
erased
it.
my memory of it, but I gave Pepper a secret key.
Yes,
Right.
To use.
Pepper is the only one who can greenlight artificial intelligent Tony.
Right.
If Pepper chooses, she could be like, well, the artificial intelligence thing is a bad move. I'll just call Captain America instead.
Right.
She's free to do that.
Right.
She's the one who contacts the AI
She
and
just
activates.
she made a decision
Yeah, she
that
chooses.
this was the way to go.
Right, and Tony gave her that power.
Right.
It's because
Okay.
Because she's so good, he trusts her.
Captain America's on vacation.
He is
He
old.
gets 1 day a week.
The reason why he can't is because he's old.
I'm sorry, 1 week
because
a year.
he's so old.
He's so old and busted.
Okay,
That
but there's
won't
a
stop
million
him.
other heroes.
Oh, I know.
Also, the first thing when Tony goes evil is to get another version of him who presumably is susceptible to the same thing that made him evil this
Well,
time.
I don't know what it is, but
What if he was evil the entire time?
Yeah, what
and
if-
the AI is a backup of his
In
evil
fact,
Now you
himself?
just have two evil Tonys.
in fact, he was, if you recall, in the 90s, like, Kang changed time,
That's true.
so he was always bad.
No!
Now, of course, that is nothing compared to his armor itself going rogue and being like, come inside of me. Tony."
Well,
Yeah.
which is another threat that you have to worry about.
You definitely have to worry about that, because that totally happened. As much as you like to not reference it, it did.
We will remind you every chance we get.
Every chance we get. If we're doing a Tony Stark story, we're going to talk about the time that his armor came to life and wanted to have sex with him.
Presumably.
Yeah.
I have a giant hole inside of me that needs to be
Filled with your body. Just fill me. Get inside of me. Oh, boy. And Whiplash wears a gimp suit. You know, because Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
So,
You don't understand. I made the suit have pleasure sensors.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It likes it when I'm inside
excuse
the suit.
me, it's haptic feedback.
That's the only way that I could make it always try to find me wherever I am.
Yeah,
you know, that's just the
There's a
easiest way to
latent
program
desire
that.
program inside that makes it need to have sex with me. It just
getting-
doesn't know. So Stark is like, someone stole time from me. I'm gonna have to figure out what, and of course he does. So then the story rolls on. So then Stark's like, okay, now that I have done these seemingly disparate things, like set up an app that makes you hot, and then charge people out the ass for it, and then create like an army of surveillance drones that are monitoring the like porn watching history of everyone in San Francisco. Now I'm going to buy out like every media company. And that's my plan. So like he creates a.
I mean, it's a good plan.
Right. So he sets up like a meeting with all of the like broadcasting heads, and he's like, I'm going to buy all your companies for like billions upon billions of dollars, because presumably Tony Stark is like a gazillionaire, and so. That's the plan. And he brought Teen Abomination with him because he's like an associate now and he's like wearing a suit and stuff. And like, that's the plan. It's like, I'm going to take over all of your media companies because I need you to be able to create like positive spin for me. And I can't trust any of you guys to like not have vested interest in other things, whether they're like, you know, anti-Tony Stark or anti-capitalist or, you know, like anti-common good or even just like having other ties to other nefarious beings and deeds. So you're like, okay.
Okay.
Does the Extremis app change your physiology as well?
Yeah, I guess it would. Yeah, it'd have to. I mean, if you are fat and now you have abs, something has changed. Like it's not
It's
just
not just like it looks like.
right. Like
It's not like putting holograms.
well, also like
on
the
you.
fat has to go somewhere. Like how does it work? Does it burn it off?
But then how does it wear off?
Right.
It adds itself back.
How does it make your muscles go away?
So
It eats them.
Oh.
It rapidly builds muscle and tears it down.
Yeah,
on command.
that sounds like it would really mess you up. That feels like that has cancer written all over it.
now, does that mean that the Extremis app could essentially make someone immortal?
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
don't die.
Well, yeah, it just refreshes your cells.
Yeah.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, why wouldn't it?
Yeah, no, totally.
You know what would be awesome?
so you could just pay-
$99 a day to
Not
never
bad.
die?
Yeah.
Okay.
Deal. Yeah.
Right.
I guess I'm getting on the ground floor of that
Oh,
before
yeah.
the price grows up.
Yeah, yeah.
It would
I'm going to be grandfathered into the original plan.
Right, you can't unring that bell. It's true.
It would be amazing if it didn't do any of that, because that's like hard.
Right.
What it actually does is go into your brain, and he's actually changing the brains of everybody else to make it look like individual people look better than they are.
Yes. Yeah,
So
it's
San
beer
Francisco-
goggles. It's mental beer goggles
San
for everyone.
Francisco is just a real-life version of a virtual world.
Yes.
Yes.
You're seeing everyone's avatar.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And you don't even know it. That's why it has to infect everybody.
No, you reveal that like the Avengers go, right? They've heard like Pepper's like, I need the Avengers. This is it. It's not working. Okay, get everybody here. And the Quinjet lands in a completely empty San Francisco. And it turns out every man, woman, and child in San Francisco is in tubes below the city. They're all in a virtual San Francisco. Extremis doesn't work that way.
How could a virus like build muscle or burn fat? That doesn't make any sense.
No. I've just kidnapped every man, woman, and child in San Francisco and put them into a virtual world that is very much like this. I've essentially created the Matrix in real time.
Right.
And the Avengers are like, what? That would be a really fun reveal that does not happen in this. No.
Yeah.
Instead, it's everything you see is what you get.
I mean, that would be a little cheap.
I
Well,
agree.
also it wouldn't work as soon as anyone left the city or wanted to leave the city.
Well, why would you?
Right. You
know what I mean?
I guess he could make the app. Then
The
it would
app
have to be
only works in San Francisco.
You can't leave the city.
Oh, yeah, no, yeah.
But also, if anyone visits from outside the city, they're gonna think that you look fat for some reason.
Yeah, don't worry about that.
Don't worry about that.
That's because they're jealous outsiders.
Yeah, but that's also if anyone visited the city, they wouldn't see anyone because they're all in tubes.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's also changing your brain so that when they say like, "What are you talking about? You don't look any more beautiful than you did."
what they're actually
you're
hearing is-
actually hearing is them saying like, "Wow,
Hey, big
you look
boy, you look
amazing."
great. Yeah.
It has to like change your entire perception of reality
No,
permanently.
it's-
yeah, okay, so that wouldn't really
A lot of holes in this whole book.
Yeah, yeah. Well, then in my version,
Well, in your
of it,
pitch.
yeah,
No, this version is it just changes you.
it just changes you. I guess that's the simplest reason. Nanotechnology,
Nanotech. I still say tubes is better than nanotech.
The tubes would be fun.
It would be more fun. Because you have an empty city. You know, Stark's like destroying
Why
buildings.
wouldn't it just be like, oh, I'm just going to copy Doctor Doom and do magic as well?
Well, yeah.
I have the metal suit.
Yeah.
I know magic's
a
real.
magic thing would be neat, but that might step on the toes of Bendis, who's doing like Tony Stark becomes Sorcerer Supreme in the future and stuff. But even then, like, why would Tom Taylor care? You know, oh, Bendis is doing that? Okay. We're both leaving for DC anyway. So these billionaire tycoons who do like the worst shit for $1 are like, no.
Right,
No, I'm going to
I
pretend to
refuse.
have integrity now.
Right.
Right.
And then it turns out that like Pepper Potts bought them out. And I'm like,
What?
No. No. Like, yeah, Pepper Potts is in charge of Stark Resilient, which was like a company that Stark
Right.
set up for her. But like, she dropped the name Stark because she's so disappointed in him. But like, Stark is able to have billions, trillions of dollars because he's evil. And he's able to like whip up shit.
Right.
Like not because he's evil, because he's a genius. And he's able to do it faster because he's evil. Because he's able to like bypass any moral safeguards. You're Pepper Potts in charge of one company.
But I had a thing where I paid them a shit ton of money for seemingly no reason, but the consequences of which is that if they break the contract, I kill them.
Oh, okay. That's what Stark's doing, basically.
So, yeah, so I guess with this, you would think that he's using the money he made from this scheme to try to buy them out.
Yeah.
In which case Pepper wouldn't have that level of money.
Hell no.
But it could also be that, no, Tony's always been rich enough to do this.
Right,
He
he's
just
just never
thought
done
of
it.
it.
I
And
don't
therefore
know
Pepper
why.
also is rich enough to do it.
yes.
So what, Pepper figured out that he was going to try to do this? And so it
no.
No,
first-
Pepper didn't.
The AI did.
Tony did.
No, the
we
AI.
can't give Pepper any actual credit in this.
No.
She can't have agency.
No.
She's the only
but
woman in the book.
But she owns the company.
She owns the other company.
So, you
Yeah.
know,
No,
she's
like-
rich. She doesn't need agency.
That's true. She can buy it.
Right. So the AI is like, if I was evil, my next
wouldn't
move
it be
would be to
amazing?
buy all these media companies.
Right, yeah.
Like I'm playing the chess game and
Yeah.
I know what I would do,
Right, but
so
then-
I'm gonna get ahead of that.
It'd be so funny if it became evil. Like by doing all the things that
yeah,
Tony
by
Stark
just
is doing.
yeah, it's like
No,
oh,
it's starting to make
inevitably-
sense.
Yeah, you know what?
No, if I was evil, hang on. It's so weird for me to say if I was evil. Let's just do a little method acting, do a couple evil things.
Yeah,
a
what
little
if
bit
I
of
was
mindset about it.
evil?
I
Oh,
have
I'm
to
evil now.
pretend to be evil in order to get into the mind of evil me, and I'm evil.
And I'm unkillable because I'm actually an artificial
actually a robot. I downloaded myself into the internet instead.
I set up all the nukes and it's Terminator now.
Oops.
Genius plan, Peps. What do you do for round 2? Oh, wait, we're all skeletons.
Why didn't you just call the Fantastic Four? I swear to God, Pepper.
I launched all the nukes, but if you pay $99 a day, it'll keep them in the air.
They'll just fly around.
Circle in the earth.
Don't ever stop paying, otherwise they're going to fall.
Yeah. Oh my God. So Pepper's like, you got to meet with me at Resilient and we'll hash this out. And so for no reason, he does. Of course, it is a reason. He's doing 4D chess.
Right.
But Stark and Teen Abomination and Pepper go to Resilient, and she's like, you gotta leave your armor out there. And he's like, sure thing. And that doesn't set up a red flag for her. And so they all get into the elevator, and Stark makes an off-color remark about how Pepper is actually Teen Abomination's stepmom, because there's a big reveal when Tony like deconstructs all of Teen Abomination's DNA when he like puts him into a mad science room and proceeds to like get blood analyses. There's a big scene where he's on a table, there's all these like needles, and then he's just like, meh, and he just stabs him. He's like, there were all distractions just so I could get you myself. And I'm like, what? So he breaks down his DNA and he figures out like, okay, I know who you are, and I know who your dad is, and your dad is Happy Hogan. Yeah, that's right. Happy Hogan had a secret affair with this lady that didn't exist before this book existed, and had a kid, but Happy's dead, so he can't be here. And so it's okay. And so that's the big reveal, is that like Teen Abomination is Happy Hogan's kid, and Stark is like, Happy Hogan's like one of the 3 people on the planet that I actually like.
Is that why he keeps him around so much?
Yes. Well, at first it was because he wanted to like exploit his DNA for like fun and profit, but now because he's actually like technically Happy Hogan's son, he's like, now I will actually try to help you.
But he's still evil, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's not. He's just more
he
fun.
evil
He's
with a heart of
entertaining.
gold?
No, there's no heart. I mean, because he says, like, when he actually reveals, like, I do care about, like, Happy and I loved him, and so, like, I am going to help you, I am still going to exploit your DNA for fun and profit, though. Like, don't forget. Piece of shit. And it's like, okay. So now Pepper's aware of who he is. It's like, yeah, whatever. So they're all getting in the elevator and they go down to like the sub-basement, and then Pepper's like high heels turn into jet boots and she flies away, and then the AI Tony in the old armor attacks Tony and Teen Abomination and reveals that, like, you know, what we already knew from the beginning, which is that like
the suit was empty.
The suit's empty and it's AI. So Tony and his younger self chat. Meanwhile, the armor goes to retrieve Tony. So then the armor envelops Tony. It's like, come inside of me. But it doesn't like want to have sex with him because it's him.
Right.
You know, that'd be just masturbation. So then it envelops him, and then it takes him off into space. And then the old armor fights the new armor with Tony as like a hostage within it.
That's awesome.
And it flies off into space.
I'm amazed the new armor doesn't just try and envelop the old armor, considering it's essentially a symbiote.
Absolutely.
Does this make Tony like really tired and sore like that one time when he didn't control the armor?
It really should. Well, only if he fights against it. But even then, like...
But he can't anticipate like its movements and stuff like he would be if he was controlling it.
Nope, it should really mess him up. In fact...
Well, he's just got to keep loose.
As I recall, in Armor Wars 2, the story you're referring to, he almost dies from that level of like strain.
Yeah.
Yeah, this should kill him.
Only if he strains. Again, if he's loose.
No, he said he'd have to like. No, I injected you with like Xanax, so now you're just like
you're a jellyfish.
Yep.
So AI Tony attacks the suit in open space, so the suit is like unable to escape or whatever, and it's like, what? You're an idiot.
What?
Of course it will. So meanwhile, Pepper tries to have a heart-to-heart with Teen Abomination, and like in the time that like the suits are fighting, Pepper finds out who Teen Abomination really is, and she feels bad for him. So then the suit like takes Tony to a satellite that they've set up. It's like all part of the like, you know, off the books secret plan, which Tony set Pepper up with, you know, back 8 years ago. And the plan that Pepper's not aware of is, if I can't like cure Tony, I'll replace Tony with myself, with like an 8-year younger
I'll download
version.
Myself into his fucking brain.
Yes.
But that story already happened, where we had a different younger version of Tony replace the older Tony.
Yeah, but that was taking a physical Tony from the past and ruining the timeline with it. This is AI overwriting current Tony.
Right. So his body's still the same age.
Exactly.
But it does have a younger brain in it.
Sure.
It's like we keep pushing him back.
Don't worry.
His brain can never be older than like a 25-year-old.
Yeah. 30 tops.
Yeah. Okay, this is the plan.
This
is what it wants to do.
This is what the suit's plan is.
Right.
Pepper thinks that we're gonna like save Tony,
Right.
and then I'll turn you off.
Right, and the suit's like, what she doesn't know is there is no saving you. This is who you are.
Yes.
And who I
I'm
guess
just
I
gonna
will
kill
become.
you and be a hollow suit forever.
Yes. So Tony's like talking to his
Oh my
AI
god,
self.
the AI suit did become evil.
Yeah, well, no, it's just Pepper doesn't agree with the AI plan, but it's also all Tony's plan.
But it was Tony's
this is
plan,
Tony.
though.
So
what is the suit's plan for not having the same thing happen to it after 8 years of being in this version of Tony?
I mean, I don't think they have a plan for that, or
Okay.
it's another one.
It's like, I don't know what made you evil, but I'll just download my brain into you and just hope that I don't turn evil again after 8 years.
That's right. That's right. Something happened. I just make sure that Axis never happened.
I guess I'll
Right,
keep
but I don't know
another
about
version
Axis.
of myself on backup.
Yeah, there's a 5-year-old version of me that will come online if I go bad, and then the 2-year-old version of me. Stark like compels the AI version to like link minds with him, to like look into his mind and like see who he truly is and what he's capable of. So he does, and they see each other's minds, and what the AI learns is that Tony's like, the world's on the brink of extinction, and so I have a plan to save humanity, but the plan is like, we're gonna have to like lose a few in order to do it, and it's just like, it's an unpalatable plan of genocide and death that will save the planet, and you're like, are you vaguely referring to Secret Wars? Because like that's not what Secret Wars is. Like that, what you are suggesting is not an incursion. You could easily just have him say, incursions are coming, and this whole plan is just like a way for me to like get my jollies before the world ends or something. Like, but no, this is like,
No,
I'm
trying to
worried about
save the world.
overpopulation, and I'm like, shut up. No, you're not. That's such a lame, stupid plot. And
So how is he going to control things with Extremis?
Oh,
or is it not Extremis, it's something else?
no, okay, so like another way in which Tony makes his billions or more billions is by meeting up with like some highfalutin American general, and he's like, I've made a doomsday weapon, but not really. I have a doomsday weapon, and I've drawn up plans, and I'll sell them to you. And basically the idea is, I promise never to make it if you promise to keep the plans to yourselves in exchange for like $200 billion. And the general's like, why would I do that? And he's like, because I have 2 other plans and they're in Russian and Chinese. Like, I'll sell my doomsday weapon to whoever will give me the money I need.
Okay.
But there's no guarantee you won't just make 3 times the money by selling it to everybody.
Well, who says I didn't? And so,
Right,
like,
but can you afford to be the one who doesn't buy the
exactly,
doomsday weapon?
but it doesn't matter.
I literally can't afford to do that.
Yeah.
I'm already in debt.
Yeah, there's no friggin' way the U.S. government's gonna write a check to a personal private citizen in the tune of like $1 trillion. But anyway, the implication is that like the doomsday weapon he's working on is connected to Extremis, or not, or they're totally separate, which would be even worse than what the story already is. Because Tony hatches a evil scheme we see, and I have to assume that it is the doomsday weapon that he was selling, because otherwise, why have a doomsday scene when he could like make trillions of dollars off panel without any explanation?
Right.
So
it must be connected,
right,
but they
and
don't
we
really
don't
connect
need,
those dots.
No, and we don't need more scenes of Tony being evil. Like, I get it. He's a bad guy. We don't need to also see that he's gonna like, you know, take advantage of the U.S. government. Oh no! That really made me understand what a monster he is.
Right.
So then it turns out like a piece of the symbiote, of course, like snagged onto the suit, and it like took over and it kills the suit, and then Tony puts the suit on, and now he's like wearing it, and he's like, Pepper, it worked! And he calls Pepper, you know, he's like, hey, it worked, I'm me now.
I'm me, I'm good me.
I'm good me.
Even though I wasn't really evil me, just so you know, I learned that when I was talking to myself. I was actually a good guy the whole time,
Yeah.
and like you just don't understand.
Right.
But I did erase that version, and I am the old me. Don't worry.
Yeah, but then
sympathize with
it
them.
turns out killing the AI triggered a backup of the AI.
Yes!
So other Tony, like other AI Tony, wakes up in the Silver Centurion armor and comes out and he's like, Pepper, he's lying!
Son of a bitch!
He killed me up there and I'm back down here.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And now we get the Silver Centurion suit running around.
Yes, and Tony's like, okay, so like, yes, but also the suit was gonna kill me and overwrite me.
Yeah, what do you think about that,
Right, and
Pepper?
Pepper's
That's
like,
not cool.
right, Pepper's like, that's not part of the plan. And he's
Yeah,
like, "You
buddy."
idiot. What are you talking about?
Plan? There is no plan.
Yeah.
The plan is loose, like Tony would.
Exactly. So like Tony goes home. He's like, well, that was stupid. Because he also like cares. was like mad that Pepper like wants to destroy him.
Right.
So he invites everyone in San Francisco. He sends like an email to everybody who has Extremis, and he's like, "Use Extremis, be hot. Come to my house. I filled the pool with champagne, and I'm just gonna get fucking wrecked." And I'm like, "You're not gonna get wrecked on champagne, all right?"
I mean, that much champagne
a pool
would
of
give you
champagne.
Right, but you're not gonna drink it all. Like you can only drink
You're
so much.
swimming in it.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
and people are peeing in it.
Gross.
That's really gross.
Horrible.
I hate it. I know.
Why would you want to swim? You'd come out sticky.
It would be horrible because
It would burn.
Sticky.
Like you'd swim and your eyes would be like, ah!
Yeah. Oh, I filled the pool with lemon juice. And the towels are sandpaper.
But it would facilitate the orgies because you're all covered in delicious,
really what
sticky
it is. Yes.
champagne.
It tastes like champagne. Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
That literally turned my stomach.
He wakes up and he's sad and he's thinking like, in the time that it took for me to like bang all these people, my AI is coming up with a plan to destroy me. Tony calls Jamie, the teen abomination, who's staying with Pepper.
Oh, why? Because she convinced it to like think about it for a minute.
Yeah, exactly.
Why don't you crash with me a few days?
Yeah, see how you like it.
Yeah. Maybe.
After all, I was, dating your dad for a while.
That's right. Married to your dad.
Oh, married? Okay.
Yeah, married to your dad. You didn't know either he was your dad or that I was his wife.
Right.
But still, I'm kind of connected to you.
We're a little connected, yeah. So then Tony tells Pepper to tell the AI that he has enacted Bio Mark 1. And the suit is like, oh crap, Bio Mark 1, that's the it's a plan or a doomsday weapon or whatever that I've hatched that I was working on.
8 years ago, I also had that plan.
Yeah, I thought of this idea, but I never thought I'd ever use it.
Right.
First, step 1 is filling a pool full of champagne.
Yeah. The other one is getting all the venereal diseases. No, Extremis made sure that nobody gets them.
Yeah.
It's mind control.
Ah.
And that's actually what Extremis is. Like, it gets into you and it makes you hot, but also it allows like one central force to control anyone who has this impulse in their brains.
Okay.
And so, yeah. And so Tony like invited everyone in San Francisco over to his house as like a living human shield of people that keep like the collateral damage from getting out of hand. So that like
so the armor doesn't just obliterate him.
Yeah, exactly. Like, no, you'll kill all these people. And now all these people are mind controlled by me. And I'm like, oh, is this the bioweapon? Like, is this the plan? Was that the weapon that he sold to the military?
Yeah, literally a bioweapon. Mind control would be fantastic.
Exactly. Like, you can literally just like send out a signal and you can control like everyone in that like town, city, country.
Hey, did you all drink the water?
Right.
Good.
Click.
But that doesn't jive with his plan to save the world. Because if he sold technology to 3 different countries, then he doesn't control it.
Oh, but he's not really going to let them have it. He doesn't sell it to them. He sells them he sold them the blueprints.
Yeah, the idea of it.
But they're not really going to be able to do it. And
also,
even then,
he
like,
has a back door.
Right, yeah, that's true. Yeah, he can.
So, like, I hope they do it, and
Right.
then that'll just give me more people to control.
Exactly.
see.
Because the other thing is he's like, well, we have like an overpopulation problem, and I need people to be like on message, like, and people are gonna like have dissent, and that's why I wanted the multimedia companies. But when that didn't work out, I guess I'll enact my like plan of mind control to like force people to like recycle or whatever the hell his plan is. Like, I don't know. Because it never really comes up again.
Right.
I guess not have kids.
Save the world.
Right, yeah. So then it turns out that the AI Tony has made duplicates of himself in all the other armors. And so Tony is besieged by an army of himself. They're all AI Tonys, and they're all going to save like the day.
Okay.
So all the armors go grab every person and take them away from Tony.
Right.
And then Tony is besieged by AI Tonys. And then of course Tony like manipulates his symbiote armor into becoming an ironmonger, and he's like, how ironic me.
Right, okay.
So they fight.
But I don't laugh like an idiot though.
Is there a Hulkbuster?
There is a Hulkbuster. It shows up. Yeah, it's the last one that like attacks him.
Yeah,
so
because he got big, so then
then we gotta get
AI Tony needs his big armor.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
And so they fight, and then Pepper arrives at the 0 hour wearing her rescue armor. That's like her Iron Man suit that Tony made for her.
Yeah.
And
Whenever
because
she has to rescue the book.
That's right. She's rescuing the book.
She had that before, right?
She had it before. It's established. But she's like, yeah, I'm going to get you. And so she blasts him with sonics that blast the armor off of him because, of course, it's symbiote-based.
It's vulnerable to the same thing.
Exactly.
Symbiote, okay.
So she knocks him out. She brings him back to Resilient headquarters. He's now under like surveillance by all these different Tonys. And he's like in a chair next to a computer terminal.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Was the symbiote able to like withstand space?
Yeah.
Yeah, it came
vacuum
from
of
space.
Yeah, no, the idea
It
is that like
flew around
because
in
it
space
came
and
from
stuff.
space, or rather it like survived in space, that would be why it is hurt by fire, because oxygen doesn't exist in space.
So when the Sentry ripped him in half,
It's Carnage.
right?
Carnage,
Yes.
yeah.
It died because Carnage was ripped in half, or because it was in space?
It died because there was a man in there.
Yeah, it died because the guy who was wearing it was
Except
ripped
for the
in
fact
half.
that Cletus Cassidy apparently like has it in his blood,
Oh yeah,
so
no.
he should just be able to seal
Oh
it
no,
off.
he
Yeah.
died because Bendis said, and then
Yeah.
everyone else is like, no. Like the
Yeah.
Carnage symbiote's part of him. He just reconstituted.
Right.
Yeah. It's,
But also, even if it wasn't and he died, it would just come off of him because it's like goo.
Yeah.
You can't rip goo in half.
no, and don't forget that also like it's not really a symbiote. It's based off symbiote technology. Like he approximates
yes.
a symbiote.
Right.
So obviously he pretended to let the Sonics affect him.
Right.
Okay, good.
But he knew that
that-
would be a thing, so he made sure it was designed so that Sonics wouldn't hurt.
Wouldn't affect him exactly, but it looks very convincing because the artist probably didn't know that until they turned the page. But then, like, it just gets like, oh, right, I'm leaving for DC. So, like, he's like, okay, so then Tony gets up and he's like, meh, and he just plugs in a USB.
Uh-huh.
He's surrounded by Tony Stark Iron Man armors.
Right.
And he's that close to a computer. It just, meh. You know how hard it is to plug a USB into
Yes.
any terminal?
It's like,
if you're alive, you know how hard it is.
yeah.
I'm gonna plug it in. No.
Well-
I was right the first time. I was right the first time.
How
I was
did
gonna
that
get it
work?
in.
But Sal, that's USB. This is TSB. This is
Tony.
Tony whatever SB.
SB.
I make it so it's a lot easier.
Yeah,
This mine's way better.
It's just a circle.
Yeah. So he
It goes in no matter what.
Right, so he plugs it in, and they're like, what was that? And then Pepper blasts it, and then it turns out that, like...
You're too late.
It's like
You're
it's
too late.
I
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
downloaded a virus into the AI or whatever.
Yes, and it
Yeah.
kills all the AIs, and so
Yeah.
the idea is
They
that,
all
like,
go,
they're all going to be erased unless you, Tony AI, download yourself into a USB that I'll keep and I'll, like, hang on to. And I promise I'll let you go if, like, all my plans come to fruition.
I don't want to die.
Yeah, so it jumps in and it like downloads itself, and then he's gonna leave. He's like, all right, well that was fun. I'm gonna go
win.
now. I win. Bye. And then Teen Abomination attacks Tony because he's like had a change of heart, and so he grabs.
I got to hang out for the weekend with my stepmom, kinda.
And
She
she's
lets me like
super
play
cool.
video games all the way like up until like 11 o'clock. She lets me eat ice cream like anytime I want to. So anyway, he grabs the
She
USB.
doesn't tell me my name is stupid. She says Team Abomination is actually innovative.
It's the voice of a new generation. So he grabs the USB, and then like the wall explodes, and the armor shows up, and it grabs onto Tony, and the USB gets broken, and it's all Teen Abomination's fault. And he's like, "Oh," and Iron Man's like, "It's fine. Like it wasn't really alive. It was a friggin' robot." Like, and Teen Abomination's like, "He was
And
alive." Like,
I wasn't gonna release it anyway.
yeah, exactly. Like seemingly,
Yeah,
that's,
I was gonna once Pepper's back
was-
was turned, I was just gonna crush it.
yeah. So Teen Abomination's he's like, "You murdered him," and then Tony's like, "Oh, your mom's not dead, by the way. She's like at a hospital. Like she just came out of a
What?
Yeah, she was in a coma. I just didn't want to tell you, but she just woke up, so you can go over there.
Yeah, I totally didn't just clone her right now.
Right? It'd be amazing if that was what happened, but no. Just conveniently enough, she woke up, and then he
Yeah, she woke up because of Extremis.
yeah. So he just turns back into himself.
Oh. That was what was keeping him as Abomination? Or he was voluntarily staying as Abomination because he was so mad?
he was
so
so
mad,
angry.
yeah, because he was like, I blame myself for my mom's death, but now my mom's not even dead. She's alive, and she's over there, and I can just go see her.
Right.
So he's like, all right, well, bye.
That's convenient.
Yeah, very. What's the last issue? So he's like, all right, well, bye. And then Pepper's like, no, I'm gonna stop you. So she blasts the Sonics. And he's like, no, it doesn't work. I just
already know that
I just
doesn't
wanted to
work.
be here so that I could turn off the AIs and get into the. I couldn't do it remotely. I had to come here personally.
It's not a living thing, Pepper.
Yeah.
It's a suit of armor.
Well, but it is a living. I mean, like it.
It's not.
No,
it's
it acts
not,
like a living
It's not
thing.
biological though. It's made of like nanobots. And stuff.
Exactly.
It just approximates a symbiote.
Yeah.
Why would it be vulnerable to the
dumbass.
same things? Is my suit vulnerable to fire? Obviously not.
Yeah.
That would be worse than my old suit. Why would I do that?
Yeah. What? So she's like, and she has a reaction where she's just like, I am so sorry that I failed you. Like
Right.
you're changed. Something happened to you. Like the thing that you and I talked about happened, and I failed to save you. He's like, nah, save it. She's like, well, you're gonna be alone, and no one's gonna love you. Like goodbye. And he goes back to his place and he just sits by himself and he's like sad. And you're like, why would he be sad? He's never, there's 2 friggin' volumes of him unremorsefully doing whatever he wants to at any point. Why would he give a shit that Pepper's
and
like
inviting everyone over for a party?
Yeah, like he's fucking like
he would do that every
18,000
day.
people. Why would he care at all about Pepper being disappointed in him?
I'm sorry, is that the end of the story?
That's the end of the entire book. So here's what happens, right? You're like, oh my god, that's the end of the series. Superior Iron Man ends. And then, in a book called Avengers Time Runs Out, unrelated to anything that happens in these stories, Captain America is super mad at Iron Man. So Reed and company are like, it's over. Like, we failed. The incursions are coming. The Ultimate Universe is going to smash into us. We're all going to die. And Cap's like, okay. Well, then I'm going to need armor, because I'm an old man. And War Machine's like, here you go. And I'm like, why would War Machine give him armor that looks exactly like his crappy 90s armor? Just give him the 90s armor. But in any case, he gets armor. He makes it look like the crappy 90s armor, but it's War Machine armor. And he's like, I'm going to spend my last few minutes on Earth punching Tony Stark in the face. And so Captain America and Tony Stark attack each other. And it's inverted Tony Stark.
Right.
He's still inverted.
He never got uninverted.
And so they're fighting. And then the Ultimate Universe comes crashing into our reality. And Reed makes the life raft and a few people jump onto it. And Iron Man and Captain America punch each other and say things like, I'll never forgive you, or
you were never my friend.
You were never my friend. And like, I would never make peace with you again.
All of these years of history are lost, and I'm glad they're gone because I've always secretly hated you.
Yeah, like,
let's just ruin history.
Captain America like throws his shield into Stark's face and like breaks all of his teeth, and Stark like sets Captain America's face on fire with a repulsor blast, and they beat the tar out of each other until the end of the world, and the world explodes, and they both die. Tony Stark never gets uninverted. He dies as evil Tony Stark, and then when Reed Richards and all the Molecule Men like remake reality with Franklin Richards, like I guess they just make another copy of him or something because
they just put him back.
Put him back before he was, or if it never happened, or whatever. But everyone still remembers Axis happening, so it did technically happen. But like after the incursions and everything, we just cleaned it up. And it's like, that is exactly like when you brought young Tony Stark back, killed old Tony Stark, and then put them in a pocket reality, and then just brought them back like that never fucking happened. Like, there is a missing Tony Stark. So twice now, in main Marvel continuity, Tony Stark has gone evil and died. Like, the one that died. The one from 1964 died. And then they brought back young Tony Stark, and then he, I don't know, Heroes Reborns? He just becomes another reality.
Transforms into
and then
another,
when that sucks, he just comes back and he's normal again. But that's a new guy who just remembers all the shit that happened then. And then he gets flipped in an Axis and then blows up at the end of the world and then goes back to normal.
Right. To be fair, everyone blows up at the end of the world.
Except for like Spider-Man and Reed Richards and Doctor Doom.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it is weird that he was evil when that happened.
Yes.
Here's a strange thing.
Okay.
When they bring everyone back.
Right. Which time? After Secret Wars?
After Secret Wars.
Okay.
After the incursions.
Yeah.
What timeline is it?
Right.
Is it right before?
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah, like where do they restore it to?
That's a real question, because for some time the Marvel universe was called Earth 616, and it was actually kind of like a one-off jokey thing. Like, oh, the one that you know, the main universe is just one of billions.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's an innocuous number.
It's a random one that we
or at least
picked.
one of
We picked
over
a fun
1,000.
number, and it doesn't matter. 616.
Yeah.
And Joe Quesada hated that. He hated it so much because over at DC, where he's from, he was like, it was Earth 0 or Earth Prime.
Mm-hmm.
The one that matters is number 1. And I don't like the idea that like we're pretending like even the one that we like bleed and sweat
they're all
for.
equally valid.
Yeah, no, they're
and
not.
We're just looking at one of them.
Right? No,
they're not.
They're
equally
not.
valid.
It's Earth, and he refused to use Earth 616 as the designate, even though everyone else in the company did.
Right.
When Secret Wars ends and the Earth is reset, they call it Prime Earth. So it doesn't have the 616 designate.
Right.
Until it does. Because writers just went, oh, well, there's no editors in Marvel anymore, so like it's 616.
Yeah, that's what I remember it was.
Yeah, I remember.
And I never understood the Prime thing anyway, so.
Right, and there was no one holding our feet to the flames about it, so it didn't matter anyway.
Yeah.
But for a time,
I didn't like Secret Wars.
I didn't even work on it.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I didn't even write a tie-in for it. I don't care.
I barely read it.
But there was no 616 anymore.
Right.
Originally, after Secret Wars, it was just
it's a new thing.
It's the Prime Earth. It's like
rebuilt it, and it's different now.
It's different, and it remembers everything that happened. All the continuity is there because Reed Richards was the first family of Marvel, and he remembers all that crap, and he put it all back.
Right.
But that means that technically the Iron Man that gets brought back
It's a new Iron Man.
could still be evil Iron Man.
No, because he died. He died in an explosion.
Yeah,
Yes,
so
he
did
died.
Cap.
But
and
if
Cap
he's
came
just-
back.
Yes. Oh, he
If
came
he's
back
just
twice.
Brought back?
Yeah.
How do they know which one to bring back? How do they know they don't bring back the one
no,
that is secretly
maybe
evil?
He's fairy dust. They made a new one.
Yeah.
he's a
So-
brand new one. They
But
didn't
he
go like, oh,
could
get that
sti-
one.
He could still be
Yeah,
evil.
they could
He
retcon.
could be playing a long game.
They could retcon that they got that one. That they plucked him
he
from
must
time
have-
and they put him here, but they're
Reed
not going to.
must
Not even
have
for
done
time.
something to restore people to a point. Like, he didn't know everyone in the universe.
He didn't know their histories or all
But
their
he
like
put them
inner
all back
desires.
somehow the way they had been.
Right, yeah.
So he must have been like almost automatic,
Yes.
right? Like, he didn't use his memory of people to put the world back.
No.
He used like magic
technology. He used magic science.
like,
to
how
pick
would
everyone
that
from
science
this date or
right.
this time.
Right, but
How
he had
would
to pick
that know that Tony was evil and revert him back?
Yeah.
It wouldn't.
Right, it wouldn't. But he's not. And he hasn't been. And they've never brought it back
He
up again.
hasn't been, but he could be.
What a fucking terrible retcon. I don't want that.
Well,
no,
they need to
that sucks.
explain how Reed detected that the version of Iron Man that he would normally have restored,
Yeah.
the one right before he died punching Cap.
Maybe because he knew he was an asshole. I mean, like, it could be that
Right,
Reed
he's
was
like,
like,
no, but like, look at him.
yeah, no, Reed could also have been like, yeah, I know he was inverted, but like, I'm making life rafts. I don't need to worry about like him making people like thin. You know, the world is over. As far as I'm concerned, the Earth is dead. I'm coming up with like a backup for everyone.
What do people
Remember?
when people come back after Secret Wars? What do they?
Most people don't remember it because they weren't there.
And
because
what
they
is
were
their
dead.
last memory?
Right, probably dying.
So they know the incursions happened.
I think they do.
They're like, oh, that incursions thing. Wait, whatever happened with that?
Well, then they just go, oh yeah, and then the next day we
then I
were
woke
back.
up.
They were over.
We died, and we woke up like it was a dream.
Yeah. No, he wins, and he is going to take over the world.
Right.
But then Secret Wars happens, so he doesn't.
Yes, that's
That's how this book ends. And then, another book could end another way.
Yeah.
You could end it however you want because we're destroying everything anyway.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, you
It
do
ends
know.
like this because he would win. He's superior Iron Man.
Well, we do know how it ends because we see that he dies at the hands
Yeah.
of Captain America. What happens before this and then? You fill in the blanks, but like it's not much of a blank.
Yeah, he moves along a little bit in his plan, and then, what happens in the Avengers happens.
Right, exactly.
That's what happens.
Yeah, and then time runs out happens.
He gets
and
distracted. He's going to do this.
Right, yeah.
Right, and then the incursions thing is like, oh, well, let me deal with this.
Yes.
But he also lies
And then
to
he
his
dies.
friends the entire time he's in an Avengers
Of
book.
course,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Isn't it great? How fun.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm assuming, Reed took a backup,
Right.
I guess, somehow, as the world was dying, and restored it somehow.
Yeah.
After Secret Wars.
Now, I mean,
I
like,
don't know
he-
how he could have done that, but whatever.
I-
he had Franklin Richards, so like.
He had Franklin and he had Molecule Man powers. I think, honestly, like, I don't think he did it individually. I think it was more like, because the way we see them repopulating the galaxy, they go, that's an Earth in reality, like Earth 4, and they go, ugh, and it like
Exists.
adds itself to the
Right.
multiverse.
Right.
So like he didn't go like, there's Tony, there's Pepper.
Right, he did it all at once.
It just
it's a bulk job.
That's the main Earth. Like this is our Earth, and it's over there, and it'll just pick back up where it left off.
Right.
Except when people were evil or stuff. Like it selectively did that.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Why wouldn't you make Earths that are just all good?
Right.
Oh, look, an Earth where there are no villains. Done.
Well, I don't want to mess with too much, but
the
I
thing, is
can
like-
fix Tony Stark.
Yeah.
I guess. I'm not even consciously doing it.
Yeah.
What I'm really doing is I'm like booting up a version of reality that is what Marvel editorial wants it to be.
Yes. Yeah. Or it's what Reed wants. It was like,
Yes.
here's an Earth where like, it's everything that I remember before all the crap happened. And like, if I have to think very hard about it. I remember Tony was kind of a dick, so I'll make him less of one. And
Yeah.
make sure when Tony wakes up, he's not a fucking asshole
I'm Reed
anymore.
Richards, so I knew that he never reverted back after Axis, so I'm just gonna fix that.
It never comes up. I mean, but yeah, I would take that. Sure,
Right?
Reed
It's like,
knew
yeah,
and
of
made
course I
him
knew.
not that. It's just like
And like you had this fucking plan to take over everyone's minds.
Like,
I was never gonna let you do that.
No.
But I had this incursions thing to deal with.
yeah, and so did you, by the way. Like we were working on the incursion thing
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, there's no way. No one is thinking about it. I promise you, nobody thought about it as far as this. They were just like, because
Yeah. Well, someone read this, they're like, that's weird, but I guess it doesn't matter
Yeah.
because
'Cause it all
we're
ends.
destroying everything and
Well, like-
we'll work it out.
Yeah.
You know, we'll reboot everything, so this will change, obviously.
Yeah,
Never
no.
mind how.
people love this.
It doesn't matter. That's what's so weird.
It doesn't matter to like a really strong degree. Like, did it ever happen? Do people remember Tony doing
Yeah.
this?
Does
and then,
Pepper remember this?
Right?
We remember it.
Yes,
That's
and that's all that
that
matters. That's true.
Yeah. But it begs the question now.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, okay, so Tony got put back, but are all the people who he pissed off like still mad at him?
Right?
And he's like, whoa, why are you so bad?
Yeah. Does Daredevil remember having been mind wiped? Superior Iron Man. Check it out. I guess it is worth checking out.
It is worth checking out, although I don't agree.
Yes. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. We'll see you guys next week with another episode. I'm Sal.
I'm Ethan.
I'm Ben.
Keep reading.
Tom Taylor and the rest of the creative team have assembled a story that is anything but predictable. That's not a compliment.
No.
But
That is a description of the
it's
things that occur.
accurate.
Yes, that is
It
accurate.
is technically correct.
unlike
The best
worth
kind
checking
of
out.
correct.
That's right. That's right. What?
Yeah.
Yeah. Got any other ones? Got any other zingers here?
Bottom line, if you enjoy neat twists on classic characters, are a fan of the Iron Man movies who has yet to give the comics a shot, or just a lover of twisted humor and good artwork, you should give Superior Iron Man a try.
I prefer.
all that to say, you should give it a try. The most like soft, weak endorsement I've ever heard.
I much more prefer. It's gorgeous, well plotted, captivating, and one of the best comics I've read this year.
Holy shit! That is an endorsement.
Yeah, except it's for Guardians of the Galaxy.